RU. This thing has made a huge move today, essentially from 430s to 1450s. Kind of made a breakthrough on that 750 level. It must have been a lot of shorts that were kind of in from this almost year-long consolidation that got kind of their stop loss got triggered, and in combination with aggressive buyers, that's why we see this push from basically 750 to 1450. And the rest of the day was pretty much consolidation in between that $14 and $12 range. Kind of have seen, the $12, $13, $14 marks kind of emerge as, support and resistance. They kind of been playing off of that. It's a lower float, so you definitely see the wicking of the candles in terms of big volatility. Right now in after hours, we're kind of almost testing the $13 range. I think if it crosses 13, gets closer to 14, then you can see another move on the upside. There's probably some day traders or swing traders in around that 14, or just if they get a better position above that $14 range, and then you probably see a bunch of stop losses cover, and again aggressive buying since this just has so much attention. On the other hand, if it can't hold this $12 range, then I would think that this would perhaps fade, just because it is so overextended right now. I mean, on the daily SMA, right now we're like almost $7 above. On the day we're 182% above. This has got so much attention, made such a big move. It's going to have continuation play tomorrow, but whether it is on the upside or the downside really depends on what happens here in the after hours and then pre-market. If it can kind of hold this, above VWAP, and then kind of get a test in the morning of the 13 and 14, if it's a test of that pre-market, definitely most likely going to see a bigger move on the open. It also kind of comes, or another thing to factor is that, if there's anything else that gets the market's attention tomorrow, if this ends up being, the primary attention again for a second day, I think people are going to be more aggressive just because of the move that it made today. And, it really has been flat almost all year, so you don't really know how much of, institutional shorting there is. So it might be, more covering on the open. It really just depends on what we do in this after hours. Next, let's look at HOTH. This thing, gapped up pre-market a big percentage, almost well over $1. Low is 60 cents, high is 171 in the pre-market, but then really just faded and broke down the whole day. Sometimes it happens with lower floats. I think it's also a combination of the VERU. Really got people's attention, so a lot of money went there. I mean, if you look, kind of had some consolidation in the morning around this 130, 134 level, but then as you get late morning, that's kind of roughly when the VERU move happens. So less momentum, less buying support, and you see a bigger breakdown. Now it's after hours, just kind of almost testing that $1 range. On the daily, you see a couple previous candles where wicks up high, comes back, so it's not totally out of character for this stock to really just pop and drop. I think, without a catalyst tomorrow, this thing is probably going to consider, or rather I should say, this is probably going to consolidate or even fade a little more. We kind of broke the supports that we've marked out before. I mean, if we revisit the daily, might have that 85 cents might be another support. So it might, just kind of slowly grind towards that, or just be a sideways mover tomorrow. It depends on how much volume it gets. It did get a lot of volume today, but it's just absolutely dropped off throughout the day. So probably not going to see as much of attention unless it just slowly creeps up, pre-market. I mean, if it does somehow, reclaim VWAP in this after hours or pre-market, and then gets close to that 115 level, and then on the open he sees a push up to 17, then things could get really interesting. It could make a huge move up. That's kind of the um, low float magic. And I think what we're seeing with VERU is that there is a good presence of buyers right now in the market. So it really depends on how this holds up after hours and pre-market tomorrow. It's looking like it's gonna just consolidate and fade though. All right, let's take a look at CYTO. This thing kind of made some pop-up moves intraday. Almost I would say a pretty volatile day really. In terms of range, I mean we go from 215 to 127, back up to 19. I mean normal ATRs 20 cents, and this thing is just moving multiple ATRs um, within the day. It's also got a history of a little bit of pop and drop in terms of gapping up and fading. We kind of closed on VU up, so it is a bit interesting. We almost have a little bit of ascending support here. Let's see if I can extend this. So it's a possibility for a breakout. It's just if it sees more volume today, kind of almost a breakout above that 180 level. It's kind of almost wedging towards that right now. A lower float. Volume's kind of tapered off though throughout the day, and it's competing with everything else with attention. It has been a little bit of a consolidation past few months with a little bit of a downtrend. So we are kind of seeing, I don't want to say like a reverse or a change in direction here, but there might be some motivation for some buyers. It depends on what we do. If this after hours, if it can hold this ascending support, and then pre-market kind of can trade sideways or close. I think if we get close to this 180 level on the open, you could definitely see a gap up on the open. On the other hand, if it breaks this ascending support, which is like almost going to be 150, then it's probably going to come down and fade. We don't have too many levels here on the daily, maybe like a 130. Kind of played off that a little bit today. So it breaks 150, probably will go to 130, consolidate. If it's really weak, keep on going. Just depends on, I would say more so in the after hours right now versus pre-market to kind of determine what happens tomorrow.